lived in the house from hell for 4 years, from age 11 to almost 16. There was constantly something happening. Doors flying open and shut, voices, footsteps. Nothing ever stayed where you put it. I was alone there a lot because both my parents worked and I was constantly terrified. One of the most gut-level disturbing things though was the little girl in my bathroom. Every time I walked past my bathroom door, which was constantly since it was right outside my bedroom, I saw a little girl with blonde curled hair and a rose-colored dress. She just stood there, staring, looking like a photograph from 1905. I started keeping the door closed so I could walk by without seeing her, but she was always there when I opened it. Once I stepped in past her, I couldn't see her anymore but I could feel her there. She scared me, but I felt really sorry for her because she was trapped there, just like me, but probably forever. As the years went by and things in the house continued to get worse, she started seeming darker. I started feeling like she wasn't really a little girl. I knew there was something ugly in the house and I felt like it was presenting this sympathetic image to me. Then I started thinking I was completely losing my mind. One day, when I was 14, I had a friend from out of town come stay with me for a week. I hadn't told her anything whatsoever about the house because I didn't think she would come if I did. Right after she got there we were sitting in my room and she left to go to the bathroom. About a minute later she walked back in with a puzzled look on her face and said, "So, there's a little girl in your bathroom?" Yeah, she hangs out in there. Blonde hair, curls, pink dress. Yeah, you know that's not really a little girl, don't you? I almost threw up. I was so relieved and terrified and excited and ready to run out of the house screaming. She wouldn't use my bathroom the rest of the week and I started using it as little as possible without pissing off my parents who did not want to believe. Eventually we moved out and I could not have been happier. I distanced myself from it mentally as much as I could. Then, when I was 18, I took another friend on a road trip to pack up a few things I'd left in the house. My parents hadn't managed to sell it, and wouldn't for 5 more years. The minute we got on the property, my friend seemed uncomfortable. When we came around the bend in the long, steep driveway, he went completely.
I'd like to share my experiences in a mall here. We've been working at this tiny mall in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, for the last 4 years. 2 of those years I was working as a custodian part-time while working at Taco Time. Now I work as a security guard and of the 3 days I work, I do 2 graveyard shifts. These happenings are just too strange to discard as an overactive imagination. My first experience was while working the closing shift as a custodian. I was finishing up the last 15 minutes before clocking out at midnight. No one worked graveyard security at the time because the mall was owned by JJP, now owned by Russ, so I was completely by myself. I decided I'd hustle in vacuuming the entrance rugs, as well as the rugs in the corridors. I had all but finished every rug except for one in the corridor by Macy's. The one corridor that has an antique shop neighbored by the exit. I opened corridor double doors to see that one of the fluorescent lights was out at the end of the corridor. The whole rest of the corridor was lit up well enough so I didn't think twice about anything unusual. I walked all the way down towards the end and became aware that the end of the corridor was pitch black. I couldn't even make out the wall even though there was plenty enough light from the other fluorescent lights behind me. Suddenly, as I approached the rugs in the darkness, I felt an overwhelming feeling that I wasn't wanted here. It was so overwhelming and the feeling came so quick I instantly fled from the dark void. I didn't even look back as I shut the entrance doors. After that incident I decided firmly that the mall had an entity haunting it. I've had enough unexplained events beforehand to know that an overwhelming feeling flooding into my conscious mind was more than a wild imagination. Second thing that happened was nothing big. I was working closing shift at Taco Time, and was just sitting back there as usual waiting for time to pass because we never had many customers towards the end of the weekday night. I was listening to music and sitting next to the fridge when out of the blue, the fridge door opened itself. From my experiences that fridge door never had a problem staying shut, and its seals were in perfect condition. I just sat there looking at it and said out loud, "Could you shut that when you're finished?" I think I even said thank you. I shut the fridge and moved on to closing, shaking my head all the while. A real prankster. Third event happened last week on my graveyard shift. Down the same corridor my first experience happened. All my graveyard shifts had seemed to go by without any incident. I accepted that there was an entity in the building, maybe more than one. I felt like I was being watched every shift. But nothing ever seemed to happen until last week. I was on my second run around the building, about 3 AM. I made it to the Macy corridor, and the second I opened the double doors, that feeling overwhelmed me. I could hear a soft humming, almost like a distant vehicle idling. I stopped and listened for a moment, trying to figure out why I was hearing such a strange noise at that time of night. I moved